culture is actually
The goddamn run the
There's a man down.
calling both games.
This rendition of Sportsball is brought to you by Aura. The football world is chaotic right now, and the internet is even more so. Every day, countless people are victimized by the fastest growing crime in the world, identity theft. There's a new victim every 14 seconds. I know family members that have been compromised by this menace. The endless bait dangling on email messages, phone calls, even texts. Danger lurks everywhere. Protection in this regard is critical, and that's where Aura comes in. It's identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all on one simple app. I know what you're saying. Oh, it can't happen to me. I'm careful on the internet. The problem is that it can, and it'll happen in the least predictable ways. Aura monitors the dark web for instances of personal information being used. And when it does, they send notifications to your email or phone fast. I personally was alerted to 13 instances of malware on my computer the moment I installed the app. My email address was out in the open at least 5 times. As I said, it can happen no matter how careful you are. Secure your information with elite protection at aura.com/utree. If you sign up now, Aura will give you a free 2-week trial to see if you've been compromised in any way. Data and privacy are king on the internet. Protect it with Aura. Now on to the feature presentation. Aggravatingly bad. No words have more accurately described the Arizona Cardinals. Even with DeAndre Hopkins back, the struggles to launch are very real. However, the Saints were more than eager to hand the game to them on a silver platter. They took inspiration from some of the great restaurants in New Orleans. The finest pastries and turnovers imported from the Bayou. The Red Rifle shooting blanks to bumbling receivers. 2 charitable pick sixes to be used as a tax write-off at the end of the year. Even Arizona, for as done as they are with Cliff Kingsbury, shit couldn't refuse such gifts. Don't worry, New Orleans. Your season's wrecked, but this draft is very QB heavy at the top. Alright, you traded your first to Philly to move up in the last draft. The sales of a beat-up Purple Haze are gonna go through the roof. You thought things were bad in Carolina? Say goodbye to their best offensive weapon. Christian McCaffrey will no longer have to carry the burden of the entire offense. The Panthers were nice enough to ship him off to the opposite side of the country, so he wouldn't have to be reminded of the horrors he has witnessed. San Francisco is making their all-in push. They've learned from the Rams. Fuck them picks. Their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th this year, next year's 5th, useless. Acquiring McCaffrey will make them the deadliest offense in football. For about 3 quarters. Someone must have forgotten to tell the Niners that CMC is as reliable as Theranos' business plan. The ultimate high-risk, high-reward move. As for Carolina, it's tank time. Pick up another hobby. It's gonna get ugly. I will say that it did get pretty ugly for Carolina's opponent. Against an allegedly great team, they witnessed Tampa Bay completely self-destruct in nearly every facet of play. Somewhere Matt Rule is crying into a bottle of Chimay Blue. The Panthers look significantly more competent without his influence. Although that could be because the Bucs are looking like ass that stayed out in the sun for way too long. Pure ineptitude that the organization hasn't seen since the Hugh Culverhouse days. I've seen more competence out of the people that wrote the NFL pylon. In fact, they can use this as script material since it's as useless and overpriced as the Bucs are. Completely unable to solve the Panthers' defense, going 2 for 12 on 3rd down. Being gashed on the ground by Madden-generated players like Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. The Panthers allowed PJ Walker to throw past the line of scrimmage today. And he did well. The Bucs' defense is out of sorts. Tom Brady is using his O-line of backups as a punching bag. And Tampa Bay's implosions become premium comedy to watch. Congratulations, you're automatically Locale of the Week. You were warned, Tom. Father Time remains undefeated. You one-upped Adam Schefter, but was it worth it? The cavalry's here for Dallas. Dak Prescott has arrived with the Rohirrim. The sun is rising. Dak deliberately chose this week to return since the Lions' defense is like reliving horrific traumas. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't he that would be doing the terrorizing. It was the Cowboys' defense. Do you remember when Detroit had one of the best offenses in football? By driving at high speeds, they slammed right into a brick wall. Did you survive the crash? Good news, you're a pack of dogs ready to feast on your entrails. Detroit may have the lead, who cares? That so-called offense of theirs is going to be unmasked as the paper tiger they are. The Lions can crawl all the way to the goal line as their guts spill out onto the field of play. The hell didn't you challenge that, Dan? Wait a second, the rabid wolves got to him as well. They feasted on the Lions so ferociously there was nothing left but bones for the carrion birds. Some say the stench of their bodies permeated for miles. Detroit may be starting to turn on Dan Campbell, but I don't know if there's anything left to shred. Atlanta was riding all of this momentum thanks to a San Francisco squad that kept stepping onto bear traps. Unfortunately, the Falcons don't have an opportunity to reset them on the road. Cincinnati needs to bury their opponents. Their hope was destroyed when A.J. Terrell was taken out of the game due to injury, and Joe Burrow destroyed whatever hope was left with his precision passing. Almost 500 yards of it to make sure nothing was left to chance. If you hear anything underneath the ground, it's the Falcons gasping for air. The only silver lining? The NFC South is such intergalactic asteroid shit that the Falcons might have the best chance of winning the division. Carolina can take the goddamn division lead next week if things go to plan. This is beyond chaos. This is a rip in the space-time continuum. Okay, it might not be a rip in the fabric of time itself just yet. If that were the case, the Colts would find a way to win. Unfortunately, Matt Ryan became Matty Iced. He's been frozen by the Titans' defense. However, despite their early lead, Tennessee will do everything in their power to bring Indianapolis back into this game. Ryan Tannehill will be fighting injury. The offense will be fighting Todd Downing's idiotic play calling. The fan base in attendance will be fighting their will to live. Whoever Indy just can't do it. You're telling me you can't beat a team that's trying to run a jet sweep with their backup quarterback? Come on, boys, you have one more chance to prove me wrong about you. Get it done.
Ryan looking for Pittman. He's got it. There's the first down. Ball comes out. It's loose.
The Titans continue to own the Colts. The worst part? One of these teams will claim the division. They'll be hosting a home playoff game. That's the biggest fleece of them all. Tennessee escapes their own demise with the faintest of praise. None for Todd Downing, though. He's terrible. There's one more thing to go over, Indy. Matt Ryan. The outcome that most of us predicted after you traded for him has come true. He's cooked. Not only has his ability fallen off a ledge, his shoulder has turned into a roast. Your owner's getting impatient. Jobs are on the line and he won't be able to take you to the playoffs in this state. What do you want to do, Colts? I see. Well, it's your decision and I'll respect it. You deserve so much better than this, Matt. We all dreamed of a world where the Packers lose to Washington this week. The joy and laughter it would bring would warm us during the winter freeze. And being embarrassed by Taylor Heineke. Oh, what a glorious sight. Too bad no one really thought it would happen. Green Bay, meet your Red Scare. You tried to be General MacArthur and invade mainland D.C.? Washington's going to throw everything they have at you to retreat back to South Korea. Nefarious elements have invaded their ranks. Or at least they think that's the case, because every crutch the Packers have relied upon over the years has been nowhere to be found. Aaron Rodgers is falling apart. The offense refuses to utilize their running backs until it's far too late. The only receivers getting attention are Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb. And Cobb's now hurt. I'd say throw the ball to others, but they'll bounce and drop like 50-50 checks. The only production is on the defense. They're saving their asses with 2 separate defensive TDs. Wait, 1 defensive TD. The other got called back because of... Is this a penalty? Perhaps Dan Snyder had dirt on the reffing crew or something, but that doesn't matter. What does is Green Bay ready to prep their nukes. Past failures could be blamed on special teams, or defense, or McCarthyism, or even lazy management. It's the entire offense. That was your safety valve. And thanks to Heineke doing just enough to win, we get to recreate Winston Churchill's call to Hitler after Stalingrad. You lost to the commies.
You blew it, boy. You really blew it.
Here we see 2 teams that do everything in their power to lose football games. At least Cleveland can pretend that Deshaun Watson is somehow going to fix every single issue they have. What about the Ravens? Every issue they've inflicted upon themselves has popped up week after week after week. They'll struggle on offense for long periods of time only to be bailed out by endless MacGuffins. Splash plays, automatic field goals by Justin Tucker, you name it. Their opponent will fail to take advantage of their weakness, mainly with Jacoby Brissett being Jacoby Brissett. And then the ultimate sin. Another double-digit lead. We already know what happens to Baltimore here. The defense keeps bending in critical spots to give up points. Surprisingly, the Ravens' offense didn't completely shut down this time. Justin Tucker automatically gave them 3 points. Unfortunately, their D couldn't do the same because Nick Chubb is a beast. Attention fills the air. Their lead is down to 3. I'd argue Justice Hill is the same, but oh, look at that, another critical fumble because ball control isn't a thing these days. With Cleveland charging forward, only one thing can save Baltimore. The hex of Art Modell. This alleged touchdown to Amari Cooper? Not eligible. Offensive pass interference on a push-off. That penalty is questionable enough, but the first field goal attempt was called for a false start on the long snapper? They call that penalty now? Cue more pain.
For the tie! No!
Coup de grace, the timekeeper didn't bother to stop the clock until the 2-minute warning, thus proving their franchise is cursed. Baltimore once again escapes themselves because they take everything from little brother. The sad part is it's so common for the Browns it's merely a 3 or 4 on the Cleveland scale. I have one question. Why are the G-Men an underdog in this match? Have you seen how they've played throughout the year? They thrive on brutally ugly football. New York is devised to trap you in the muck and force you to play on their level. Jacksonville is progressing, but they still aren't that good. How many times do they have to bludgeon you over the head with a rusty cleaver until you get it? They'll play you tight, and they'll capitalize on every single mistake you make. Oh, you want to rush with Travis Etienne for a touchdown? Not with the way he's handling the football. The contest is close, but all I can guess is that Vegas wanted to make sure their bet's covered. Oh my goodness, Dexter Lawrence touched the QB's ass without saying good game. Roughing the passer! That bullshit leads to a Jags touchdown, but once again, what have the Giants been good at this year? Overcoming adversity. Daniel Jones hasn't been a great quarterback in his career, but he's been taking what's been given to him. He's managing the game well, which is a good sign for his future, whether it be here or elsewhere. The old Danny Derps would have turned the ball over 20 times by now. Here he takes them to the end zone with Saquon for the lead. However, despite another long drive managed by the Giants, Jacksonville still has a chance to win the game with a minute left. Cue more incredible ref ball because let's be honest, Vegas never enjoys paying out. Zebras are doing everything in their power to help the Jags win. But the Giants are holding, and it'll come down to one final play.
The throw at the goal line. Caught by Christian Kirk. But there's no more time.
The Titans suddenly feel phantom pain. Thanks to their yeoman's mentality, the Giants are 6-1. What a goddamn world. New York doesn't have to suffer through shitty sports teams. Now, only if I could say the same for the Yankees. Great tank of the Texans rolls on with haste. They've had some hiccups on the ride, particularly with an accidental win against Jacksonville, but their Super Bowl has already been celebrated. Jack Easterby was crucified for his many sins. Perhaps his evangelical power healed Derek Carr after an injury scare. In this version of Tank Bowl, we have a surprising offensive showcase. One where Josh Jacobs destroys whatever the Texans call a defense. However, the game is still neck and neck. The deciding factor in these matchups is a simple one. Who wants to lose more? Fortunately for Houston, the Raiders still fancy themselves as playoff contenders. The tank of tanks remains strong, and it will be confirmed by a tasty pick six cooked up to Duron Harmon. Another scare for Las Vegas results in their continued survival for another week. Just don't know if it'll be enough to get anywhere close to a playoff spot. It was only a matter of time before the Chargers would be unable to escape their awful coaching decisions. Perhaps in future press conferences, Brandon Staley will whimper about the analytics forcing them to get their asses kicked by Seattle in their home stadium. Analytics are a fine tool to help a team win, but so are the Seahawks themselves. John Schneider and Pete Carroll went from the chopping block to potentially having their asses saved in a month's time. Their 2022 draft class has quietly provided instant impact. The 12th man is now converting to a new religion, spreading the gospel of Tariq Woolen and K9 to the masses. Their PR campaigns will be more suffocating than the Seahawks were. Even zanier, the team no one thought would do anything is now leading the NFC West. An alleged powerhouse division being led by an alleged tank. Needs to do that when Denver's doing it for them. There's winning to be done now. Fuck your narratives, a new one is being created about Chef Russ actively holding back the franchise. The Niners have their newest weapon ready for deployment. Christian McCaffrey may not be at full strength, but he will be a worthy asset to resist the invading Chiefs' forces. Now only if they weren't an overpowering foe. Sadly for San Fran, Kansas City brought out the heavy weapons. And it's not in peace either. Consider this a harsh lesson, Niners. If you want to be the best, you must play like the best. It's a simple equation. The Chiefs were the far superior team in many facets today. If you want to win, you need to get pressure on Mahomes. He was able to take out a lawn chair and relax with how much time he had to throw. You can't get into gunfights against Kansas City with Jimmy Jesus. He's a game manager, not a gunslinger. You ain't Buffalo, kids. They lasted for about 3 quarters before the killing blows were thrown. Too early to panic if you're San Fran. A lot of quality teams lose to the Chiefs. The next few weeks will be the true test. A shit show if there ever was one. If you thought things couldn't get worse for the Broncos, Russell Wilson will be shelved for the match like the Danger Witch. Perhaps his Wolverine blood will help him to heal his awful quarterbacking as well. Speaking of bloodlines, Brett Rippon hopes to imitate his uncle and play against the Jets. Too bad he got his mid-90s form. It resulted in one of the ugliest games of football seen in hours. We can talk about how beautiful it is to see Breece Hall play, but like all good things, he must die in this NFL season. Jets fans must suffer through Elijah Moore demanding a trade and Zach Wilson failing as the white Lamar Jackson. It was a showcase of modern art. Both teams threw cans of tomato soup onto NFL playbooks and lectured us all about drowning in the sauce. Speaking of which, Sauce Gardner doused the Broncos offense in hot sauce and ate them like chicken wings. Denver's ineptitude merely had them cook themselves. In the Jets' defense's relentless feasting on Nathaniel Hackett's kindergarten scheming, they're now 5-2. They won the battle of terrible offense by default. Denver's nightmare season is forced forward as they perpetually wet themselves. Word of advice: wear rubber. It'll prevent your piss from staining the fabric. Bad news, Jets. Everyone you loved is now dead. It may be a Pyrrhic victory, but you can't die with them. Here's this rarely used James Robinson rotting away in Jacksonville to try and salvage the running game. He came cheap off Craigslist. Just have to pick him up from the seller's house yourself. Conditional late pick only. Maybe they'll manage to let him run the damn ball in their offense. The return of the king. Whether it's Tua for the Dolphins or Kenny Pickett for the Steelers, that will only be revealed in time. And this game neither really deserves such an honor. The real key piece coming back was obviously Stephen Ross. His guidance led the Dolphins to a strong offensive showing. If you ignore the roughly 5 interceptions Pittsburgh's secondary suddenly developed wax hands for. Starters were back for this game. What the hell gives? In the standard Steeler fashion for 2022, it's a winnable match they completely piss away. Miami was doing everything in their power to hand them a bullshit win. Tua was okay, but nothing special. Mike McDaniel thought he was special by going for it instead of taking the damn points. To go up by 2 scores. Even the analytics said to kick the field goal. Mike, with Matt Canada's middle school offense, they aren't scoring 10 points. If not that, Kenny Pickett decides to play hero ball and chuck horribly thrown picks. This isn't the ACC, Kenny. Defenses will eat you alive if you throw those ducks. The Dolphins self-sabotage themselves to a win, while the Steelers embrace a new standard. One of life without high-end talent to bail them out. Welcome to hell. The crowd's getting restless, Bill. Trickery has deceived them into thinking Bailey Zappi is the future. Mac Jones is flailing around aimlessly, unable to do a damn thing. Losing to the lowly Bears is an unacceptable fate. With his back against the wall, Bill takes a swig of his Parcells sweat jar and decides to cater to the crowd. Bailey Zappi is here to save the Patriots. Hear the roar of the crowd as he manages to move the football with ease. The swelling of pride from Boston can be heard as the rest of America groans in unison. We all know this could be a breakthrough game for Justin Fields. Subvert your expectations, motherfuckers. It's time to bear down in Gillette. This is easily the best performance of Fields' career. I don't know if that says more about him or the Pats defense. The Chicago Bears scored over 30 points in an actual football game. It's like Halley's Comet, this only happens once every 70 years. Kind of like New England being outright humiliated at home. Good work, Patriots. You have a quarterback controversy on your hands and you have problems to deal with no matter who you pick. fans been zapped yet? Football is a brutal game. May the bell toll for the fallen.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Thus concludes another week of this sermon on the field. Amen.
We're watching two teams seemingly headed in opposite directions, but a win for Denver, they feel like they're right back in this thing.
Second snap for Denzel Mims. He's in there. They go to the run game. Oh, look at the speed of Breece Hall. He's done it again. Breece Lightning, 62 yards for the touchdown.